Yeah. My intention is to wrap up 11:45 today before lunch, just because I have a lunch meeting, so I'm trying to be on time. But after lunch, we'll move on with Node.js, Express, EJS, and that is basically that is what the assignment is about. But before that, we should end up our current example program by looking in the class, and we'll check an example of how this callback, promisify, asynchronous stuff works by looking at an example program. And just a hint to prepare yourselves for Monday. So if you have any energy left, or if you want to have a break on this Node.js assignment, then move on to install XAMPP with PHP and MariaDB. And it's excellent if you have that when you come here on Monday, because then you can just follow my examples, and we're going to do a lot of coding Monday, or we're going to look at code, checking how a complete create, read, update, delete example works on PHP and the database with HTML forms. So then it's really nice if you succeed in installing this XAMPP, if you know how to set up your one single HTML and PHP file. Go for it from your local host, and at the bottom, start up the database. And from what I hear, you have done databases, so I hope that matches to most of you, and you've done MySQL. And if you want to use that database instead of this MariaDB that comes with the XAMPP package, yes, feel free to do so. It works. You just don't start the MariaDB from XAMPP control manager. And so when you have done this installation, you will have local web server. You have your first small PHP page, and you have a database. And then we're going to connect them on Monday. So, but that was not what we're going to do today. That was just a tip for preparing for Monday. We were here. And I'm going to wrap up this Node.js JavaScript example. And we were here, we call this a main program requiring a module which contained one function. We could add another functions to that also, since it's an object. But let's see what this is. Okay, so the final sample program for this small, subdirectory here. So Michael has made a Yahtzee. Okay, so this is a, will it actually work? Let's see. Let's go on to make it, let's see. Could we run it? And there we go. We go with Node and we do Yahtzee. Oops, yes, seems to work, I think. If we have 5 dice in Yahtzee, seems like we're throwing them. Let's throw them again. Yep, we got another set, 5, 6, 4, 1, 2. Let's have another one, 5, 6, 1, 5, 5. Yep, we have a Yahtzee program working. And we're printing out something where we are randomizing the die. Okay, and seems like we have a collection of dices, yeah. So we are printing out the whole collection, which seems to be an array, since it's the bracket there. And we have an array of an dice object. It seems like this dice object has a property or a member variable. So perhaps, since I know it's a class. And so it's storing its latest role in our member variable, and I can see it, I can print it out. So let's see how the code looks like that actually prints out this. Let's go to the main program. So, yep, use strict, okay, I got that. Require an external module called dice.js, okay. Store it in dice, capital dice. Because it looks good. Because at this stage, I know that this is a class that is coming from this file, so I know that. And I'm going to use that in my next sort of, here, I'm going to create a new object from this class, a new instance. And so that's why I'm using capital D, since it just looks better. So I'm actually having the whole class constructs definition in this variable there. And there I create a new object of it. I obviously is trying to get my dice hand, creating it as an array. And I'm looping for 5 dices that I'm going to create. I'm going to put them in the array, and I'm going to roll it. So this is a representation of a dice object, and I call this member function called roll. Okay, and then I'm getting this rolled a hand dot I. Okay, nice. That is actually the object, but still I can do string concatenation with an object. Or let's say I do string concatenation with the object's string representation. So it's sort of, it's an type conversion, if you say. Conversion from the actual object to a string representing it. Let's see how that works. Sorry? Turn up the light. Turn off the light. I guess we did last time we were here. We haven't done it today. Oh, you do it there. Okay. Now it's dark. So we are doing string concatenation with an object or the object's string representation. Well, we're gonna move on into the class definition of the dice soon. Let's just see how we move on, how we're using it. Okay, here are the dices we have rolled, and we are printing out the whole hand. So the whole hand is an array of objects, of dice objects. Okay, and for somewhere we are joining the elements and printing them out as a string. So we're doing a array operation. So join is an array operation. So we're using that array, and we are joining those elements into a string, I guess. Okay, yeah, okay, I got it. Let's see how it works. Let's see. Let's run it once more. Okay, so that it is. Printing in the loop, dumping the whole array of dices, and sort of joining the array elements to a string. Okay? So let's see how this works. And basically, what we can expect from this file when we move into it is what we sort of are used to when we are sort of defining a class, I would say. So we have this dice.js, and it looks like this. So we have a class, dice, so class template. We can create a constructor. So we do it like this. This constructor will be called when we are creating a new object of this class. like a constructor general works. We can use this as a representation of the current object we are dealing with. We don't need to define the member variables. So we are sort of creating them dynamically, so to speak. So this row here is creating a member variable, member property, called dice. And it has no value from the beginning. Okay. Then we look at the methods available in this class. So we have a method called roll. So it could take an argument, but the argument has a default value, so we don't need to send it in. We do some random stuff to create the sort of dice, and we save the value in this dice. Okay? And then we return it also, so we both save it and return it. Maybe we don't know how the user is going to use our program, so let's provide them with another method. So you rolled me previously, so I allow you to use a method to get the last roll. And basically because I like more that the user of my class is using methods and is not trying to access my properties directly. I don't like that. But in this case, you could use that sort of property notion directly, but I don't want to do that. So let's provide a member method to return the internal value. And then we have the two last things. We have this toString. And this is sort of a magic method. It is called when JavaScript wants to have the string representation of this object. So when the main program is doing string concatenation, it actually calls this toString method. So here I can sort of decide on how would this dice look like when I print it as a string. And I say that it should only look like it's sort of the number of eyes on the dice. Okay, last thing, what actually makes it a module is the module export. And for now, I'm just saying it's dice. So the whole exporting from this module is the whole class definition. And that is actually then what's sort of required into the main program. So if you fancy class type of code, you can do like this. And use it like this. And this. There. Okay? And last example before lunch. It's a bit of sort of reviewing how asynchronous and await works, just to check it out. So we have 4 different example programs, are quite small. We have a file. So this is the content of the file. And we have a main program. Okay, so if we look from the top to the bottom of this program, we are importing some stuff. We are saying we have a path to a file. I want to print out program is starting up, label 1. I want to read the data from the file, should be saying label 2. And at the end, I want to print out this label 3, end of the program. So 1, 2, 3. And here, this just a, let's see, where comes this require fs from? Yeah, let's see a quick one from there. We need to go to a browser and we need to find out where can we actually find Node.js documentation fs. Let's have some file system, Node.js, reference documentation, Thank you. Excellent. Looks like this. So this FS module was a built-in module in Node.js, so I can use it like all the other sort of common built-in libraries that we are sort of expecting from this type of sort of programming environment. Just want to show you where those are for now, and we'll go back to our code. So we have this file system and we are working with it there. Obviously it's containing a function called read file, and it is sort of reading the file in my path in this char set, and it has a callback that only just prints out the file content then. So let's see how it works. There we go. Let's go async await ls. There we go. Oops. Okay. So I can check again. File.text contains that. Okay. Node index 1. Let's see how that works. Okay. 132. 132. So this example basically shows stuff is not done in that order that I usually expect from a sort of program executed line after the other. So 132. Let's go back just to see the code. 1. That happens, but that is a blocking IO function. So the program there blocks on that, and when the file is read, the callback is called. But for now, the event loop sort of blocks that and leaves that until it's done. So it listens on an event. I'm done. Okay, let me execute again. Okay, yeah, you're not done yet. So the event loop just continues to move on here. So then we get 1, 3, and occasionally we get a 2 when it's done. So that is the essence of this asynchronous way that Node.js works. And when you just understand that that is how it works, everything will sort of be a bit more easier. Yeah?
Is there any way to get the event loop to wait for the callback before continue executing?
Here?
Yeah. So it waits.
Yes, it's a very nice question, since my next example is sort of doing that. Yeah, so great question. I could answer it. Yeah, so the first thing that I would do when I come into this Node.js way of thinking is, oh, I don't like this asynchronous way. I can't deal with it. So why can't they provide a synchronous way of doing this? And sometimes they do. So here we have the same thing. We are using this read file sync instead. So it's a synchronized version that is actually blocking the whole flow. So it's not taking this sort of, it's not having this power of using the asynchronous way of working. The other part of the program can actually carry out work while we are waiting for I/O. So being a bit more performance-wise. So let's see how this works. Yeah, you may be able to just guess what we will get here. 1, 2, 3. Synchronous. Nice. I understand that completely. And so we're using a synchronized function. And sometimes there are these alternatives. Okay, so what would be the next question then? Let's see. Yeah, okay. So I have a nice program here now. For some reason, I have opted to sort of read the file, but I put the file into a function because the program is getting larger and larger. I need to structure it in functions, so I put it in a function. And I have two functions here. I have the callback function. Looks a bit like the same before. And I have the synchronized way of reading the file. So I put that in a function. Okay, so this is basically the combination of sample 1 and example 2. And let's take this one first, the synchronized way, which actually works. Let's see. This is the free there. Yeah? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Let's go in and use the callback version instead. And let's see what happens. So now we have a callback in the function, and we're going to run that program. And no, it didn't work at all. So, yeah, what happened? We are calling that. So we're getting 1. We are calling this callback. And something happens there. Callback. It's actually doing this nice callback that it should. But here, since this is blocking, and the program just continues, and this sort of the function's ending. It's closed, this function sort of. So it really has nothing to go back to. It just forgets about this callback. It's just dropped out. So it really.
A little bit up, you're doing console log data. You can't really print out what hasn't been returned yet.
No. So it really doesn't match. Maybe you can't do it like this. So I tried to do like, oh, I want this return data, but this is a callback. It will be returned later. How could I actually get this data? Since I'm getting, a bit like you said, I'm getting the return value from the function which doesn't return a value.
So the next line, console info data.
No, it actually carries out. It actually prints the correct value since it is printing what the function is returning, and it's returning sort of undefined. I was sort of wanting to return data. Let's see what happens then. No, it's still undefined. Okay, yeah, I know. But whatever. Let's say data and set it equals to moped. It shouldn't contain moped. It should contain the actual content of the file. But just for the sake, let's see what happens now. Okay, yeah, moped. But how should I be able to getting this actual value of the file? No. Okay. So let's leave that. Hanging. Let's just move on to index 4. And let's see what we have here. Ooh, now it's starting to somehow. So this is the last thing we'll see before lunch then. Index 4. Okay, fs, I got that. Util, util, Node.js, doc, util, and we'll find the reference information for this util library and how we can use it. Here we are doing something well, we talked about it. We're adding a layer of promises around this read file function. So this method that we were using to read the file with the callback, we are promisifying this and creating sort of a new function that is having this promise layer. Okay. And we want to use that. So we can use await and async to control this asynchronous flow in the program. Okay, so here I have a main function. I define the main function and I call it. Since I'm using await in it, I have to define it as an asynchronous function. So the program knows this is an asynchronous function. It will use await in it. Okay, so then I can write the code here. Program is starting up. I now have a new function called getFileContentPromise. And I say, wait until this delivers the data I want. So hang on here. But still, this whole setup is not blocking. So it's still providing other parts of the program could sort of run. Listen on incoming data on a port or something. So it's still sort of, it's still listening to things sort of want to communicate with the program. So await, yeah. Let's see that this actually works before we have a look into the program. There. So 1, 2, 3. Nice. So let's see how this actually look like then. Get file content with the promise. Okay. Get file content with the promise. Data. Read the file. Wait until it's done. Get the whole content into data. Return the data. So if you're only going to do the assignment, you won't have to deal with this asynchronous stuff. No, because it's a rather trivial assignment in that case. But if you want to do a project like this, yeah, you should sort of have a basic knowledge on how these callbacks, perhaps promisefy, and if you want to use await async, you should sort of be aware of that it works like this. And my recommendation is, if you are new to this at least, if you are using a lot of await and async, I assume you get a nicer program than doing it the callback way or the basic promise way. So I just wanted to show you this. Yes?
I just wonder, what is the difference between let and for?
In the var is a sort of declaring a variable in var is sort of to a whole scope. It's containing a larger scope. Let is only this function scope. So in this case, if I had var or let here, really doesn't matter. But if we look it up, someone will tell us you should use let there. It's more proper to do that. So if you only want a variable to be visible here, use let, it looks nicer. var declaration would be sort of a larger scope, but we don't have that scope here, so it's actually not applied.
I also saw it like it was var, it was the old way of doing things. Now let and const are the new version.
Yeah, instead of var. Yeah. So instead of var that we used a lot before, we are now using let and const. And I don't know if I used const up here. Yes, I did. Here I could opted to have let or const, but I use const since I will not change these variables. I will only read them. I will only use them. So that's why we have const there.
I have one question regarding the assignment 3. Are we supposed to save it on the report folder or separately? Because in the beginning of the assignment it tells you're supposed to
I think it says that you should save it in a separate folder. Yeah. At least it should say like that. Yeah. So the report folder is still, it's on its own.
So the report folder is for assignment because we did it in assignment.
Yeah, we're gonna work with the work report all through the course, and there you will put all the reports. You write the questions you answer. So stick with that. But this is, when we do this, we put all our work in another directory. Yeah.
So for the schools.html, should we put it on the assignment tree and then link it there, or we're going to put it on the report
schools.html. That is
for assignment 3.
that is assignment 3. Yeah, that you put in work report.
Okay, only so then the whole thing is going to be report folder than the whole assignment 3.
Yes. Report assignment 3. Everything is in work report. Yes. Assignment 4. Yeah, that is another directory.
It was a bit confusing because in the beginning it says create assignment 3 folder A3 and then save it there.
Yeah, it said like that, but yes, didn't I, hey, that's not right, so didn't I change that? I think I changed it. Yeah,
Now it's changed.
yes. Someone told me that Monday, so yeah. Anyway, you're going to show me how this works, so it really doesn't matter that much. Okay? Okay, so I'll see you after lunch in another room, I guess, and then we're going to do this Express server. Yeah, okay.